This game sucks, and I like it? Dubbed Worst Game of 2005 by Gamespot, Land of the Dead Road to Fiddler's Green, released for both PC and original Xbox, acting as a prequel tie-in for the Land of the Dead film that came out earlier in the year. Truthfully, there's not that much that connects the two. It could have easily been a completely separate thing, and it kind of was initially. The designers wanted to make a game based on the world George A. Romero had built, since they felt the zombie genre was underserved in the video game medium. In an unorthodox series of events, Brainbox Games, the developers, created and finished their single-player PC game. It wasn't in alpha or pre-production or anything. No, it was already done apparently. And then they approached Universal for a potential tie-in partnership. Universal liked what they saw, and then worked with the devs to retrofit some story bits in here and there, likely the radio broadcasts and Fiddler's Green finale, since those are really the only story bits in the game anyway, and they also helped shape the environments to more resemble the film. Since Brainbox Games already wanted to set their game in the George A. Romero Living Dead universe, there's no mention of the word zombie anywhere. Flesh feasters, stale skins, Walking Dead, Ever Hungry, reanimated corpses, and many more are used instead in the hints on the loading screens. You gotta hand it to Brainbox Games, this is Manifest Destiny at its finest. Wait, what does that phrase mean again? When you shoot your shot, you should expect to fall short, but they didn't. They landed the IP, officially, that they were dreaming of. Everything is coming up Millhouse, except, unanimously, this game was viewed as a pile of garbage. While I can readily admit that most of what these reviewers say is correct, I think the passage of time does favors for slop like this, since, unlike them, I'm not limited to what exists in 2005 and before. When I played Spec Ops: The Line last year, in addition to loving the narrative, I came away feeling refreshed, enjoying the gameplay itself quite a lot. Apparently for people of the time, cover-based third-person shooters were getting pretty stale, and thus, from their point of view, the gameplay was generic at best. I think both perspectives are perfectly valid, and for two different reasons. One, release day reviews aren't the same as YouTube retrospectives. One is to help the buyer understand what they're getting, letting them know if they should purchase said game or not, and the other is a more in-depth look at the full work of art, the main objectives being entertainment value and, hopefully, insight. Different goals, different ways of approaching things. Secondly, and more importantly for the argument I'm making, we exist in different time periods. Sure, I played Army of Two earlier in the year, but beyond that, 2024 Dorkaxe isn't exactly drowning in 2010s era third-person shooters, or games with a strong military framing. A person playing Spec Ops on release is, however. The modern gaming landscape at the time was filled with both of those, so the fatigue was naturally setting in. Quote, Spec Ops: The Line is a tremendous example of how much effect great writing can have on a game. Without it, this is a title that would be heading to the bargain bins within weeks as another brown cover shooter. End quote. Woof. Road to Fiddler's Green sparked the same level of contrast between what I thought versus what the masses thought at the time of release. I see the word linear used disparagingly in some reviews, but for 2025 Dorkaxe, linear isn't bad at all. It's kind of refreshing. Open-world games, skill trees, and cinematic experiences are what's popular nowadays, so having none of those, even if that's what people back then would be impressed with, works for me right now. I also have a good 20 more years of zombie media at my fingertips, so the cries of zombies are supposed to be X and Y mean nothing to me, since, well, zombies can be anything. We've even seen some comedy and romance movies with the undead setting, so the idea that these flesh feasters are somehow less than, an affront to the zombie name because they have shitty AI? Nah. Yes, it is painfully bad at times, and I can show a great montage of them getting stuck on doors, or standing around.
Just hanging around.
Or, believe it or not, walking along the Crystal Cave pathways to seat the scaleless. But this is what I'd classify as endearing jank. I mean, come on, bro got stuck on a hammer on the ground. How is that not hilarious? In all seriousness, finding an enemy immobile was a relief sometimes, since some of these reanimated corpses are terrifyingly deadly. An easy kill now and again isn't the end of the world by any means. Yes, you heard that right, I thought this game was legitimately tense and scary at times, most reviewers thinking the exact opposite. Beauty really is all in the eye of the beholder, as they say, and for me, Fiddler's Green was kind of a blast. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot here that's awful, much of it I'd say veering into the objectively bad category, if there ever was one. However, despite Seymour's directions, I made it through, and mostly enjoyed my time. It's still a bit of a mess though, so let's just start there. While it seems the PC version of the game somehow kept a modding community going, and likely is the better of the two, I found the physical version for sale at a used game shop last year, so that's what I played. I put the disc into my original Xbox and suffered the wrath of mid-cutscene loading periods and constant frame drops, including the game outright freezing for moments where something big is happening, such as tossing grenades, or when enemies spawn in. I promise you, it's not your internet, my game nearly shat itself when this zombie puked on me. Unreal. When it's not completely stopping for a full second or two, Fiddler's Green may as well be a PowerPoint presentation with how much it chugs along at times. This is some of the objectively bad territory I was talking about earlier. I'd be much happier with the game if it didn't, you know, do this. If you're moving the camera when a big chungus load happens, you'll be totally disoriented, since it keeps your inputs in mind when the game is in its frozen state. You're still holding right or left, so now you're completely turned around. Yay! Some people praised the feeling of the headshots, but for my money, even with the sniper, I found the headshots to be wildly inconsistent. Oh, your crosshair is on the enemy head? Sorry pal, the game decided you actually struck their arm. I found getting headshots with the sniper rifle was more reliable when I wasn't zoomed in, as in when I had the supposed worse accuracy. Come on, tell me how these two were headshots. Is there a random critical chance or something behind the scenes? I have no idea, but it still looked like I should have missed altogether. Speaking of that, the shotgun has its own share of inconsistencies. More often, a shotgun blast up close is all you need. Sometimes it can even kill 2 zombies at once. This goads you into relying on it in a pinch, but be careful, it doesn't always work like you think it should. This looks to be aimed right at his neck and chest, right? Nope, it shot off his leg somehow. Yeah, I know, there's no transition between the standing and crawling states. It's pretty jarring when slowed down. At least I was in control of this situation. Here it looks like a point-blank shot, but the voracious undead said no and kept on coming. Since there's a lengthy delay before you can fire again, if a seemingly guaranteed insta-kill shotgun blast doesn't do its job, that can leave you in a really bad spot. You also can't swap your weapons when reloading, and you reload immediately without your consent, so don't think this is some quick-paced action game. It's deliberately slow-paced, sluggish even. The M16 and starting rifle thankfully don't suffer from the randomness the sniper and shotgun does, but the M16 you don't get until halfway through the game, and the bolt-action rifle takes 4 separate trigger pulls to kill zombies with, an entire magazine, and headshots, hilariously enough, don't do anything. Landing 4 rounds into their forehead is the same thing as landing 4 rounds into their leg. Neat. You can wield a melee weapon, but yeesh, the range of your swings is pitiful, especially egregious considering the insanely long reach zombies get with their attacks. Surely a person swinging a shovel or a bat would be able to hit from further away than an undead swinging their arm, right? This isn't even the worst of it, as, hilariously, they also get a bite attack, one of the goofiest looking offensive moves I've seen in a survival horror game. Despite their head and neck not moving, and their positioning obviously not being close enough to you, the zombie munch lands all the same, and you take damage. This is straight up embarrassing, but at least it's funny, right? In a so bad it's good kind of way. The melee weapons have 2 attacks, one normal and one alternate. The normal one is quicker, but mostly terrible, and the alternate attack takes longer, but is much stronger and topples foes to the floor. I didn't know about the alternate swing early on, and I also didn't find the revolver, even though it's apparently in the first level of the game. Here it is in the intro montage video, but I never used it. So, yeah, I had a rough go at the start. It is great that the melee weapons all have different properties though, different damage, destruction potential, animations, and reach. Golf Club isn't the strongest, but swings the furthest. The axe can dismember zombies easily, making its normal swing actually fun to use, opposed to the others, which kind of stink. The bat at least sounds good, but doesn't really look like it's doing much. And finally, the lead pipe is the best in the game due to its insane damage. 2 alternate swings is all you need, except when you don't know about a very specific oddity with the game. Whether the zombie will take full damage or not depends on their state. Bodies on the ground can either be a lifeless husk, or a zombie in waiting, which is a good detail on its own, but although it looks like you can get the drop on them, you can't. Shotgun blasting them doesn't do any damage when they're getting up, they have to be fully standing. This is different from the other shotgun inconsistency, I promise, as right here, I shoot her twice while she's getting up, then another one point blank, and then, on the 4th blast, the second when upright, she finally goes down. The same thing goes for the melee swings. 2 lead pipe whacks should be what the doctor ordered, but if you hit their head as they're standing back up, it'll take 3 hits since the middle one didn't count. I'm almost positive they're simply invincible when getting up off the ground. What's crazier, you can't even damage the possum zombies from far away to goad them into rising. It's only your proximity that matters. Shoot one with a Glock? Sorry pal, you wasted a bunch of ammo for nothing. You do get a sprint, but for the first hour or 2 of my playthrough, I didn't realize it was there, which helped me discover the jumping spam movement. After learning I could sprint, this was put on the back burner, but I still used this now and then when I ran out of stamina, specifically when trying to get back to Otis. Oh, we'll talk about him, don't worry. Unfortunately, Jack, the farmer main character, has the fitness level of an overweight stay-at-home dad. Wait, no, worse actually. Don't ask me how I know this. Seriously, bro gets winded immediately, taking maybe 3 steps before huffing and puffing. Yeah, this didn't get annoying at all. You might be wondering why I supposedly like this game, given how negative I've been so far. For starters, it's a survival horror game where you'll have to conserve your ammo when you can. It's easy to die if you aren't careful, and you linearly advance through a series of levels, scrounging for resources, like health and ammo, acquiring new weapons, and taking down enemies methodically. I might have had less friction if I was given a quick save, both due to the technical issues I experienced and the level of challenge some sections gave me, but I think it was for the best that dying set me back so much. Yeah, you have to work around the weirdness of the game, like headshots seemingly not working half the time, the inconsistent weapon damage when zombies are in transition states, and so on, but that was part of the fun, dealing with this janky-ass work of art. Some disagree, but I genuinely do think this is a tense game. It's all too easy to get surrounded and take an insane amount of damage, or, God forbid, get caught off guard by a crawler. All of the enemies are zombies, yet there's a decent variety here with the designs, some being much more dangerous than others, forcing you to constantly reevaluate the situation. The game mixes set enemy placements with ambushes, so you'll have to manage threat levels, prioritizing certain types of undead over others fairly often. Crawlers, in addition to being genuinely scary, deal a lot of damage and can't be cheesed with the alternate swings since they don't get knocked down. Those gotta go first, at least early on. Eventually you'll encounter the diseased-looking zombies, and now it's a contest. The 4-legged freaks are unnerving, sure, but being puked on, or the second variety, which explodes after they chatter their teeth enough, inflicts a poison onto you, which, in addition to taking your health away slowly for a while, clouds your vision like no other, even jerking the camera around, making it harder to aim. There's also a screamer, which I'm told summons other zombies, but I'll be honest, their howling freaked me out so much that I wanted them dead ASAP, regardless of what they did. Okay, I'll admit, their shoulders jiggling all around is kind of funny. Hey, yes, this game sucks, but it's fun, it is. Finally, there's the undead that hold weapons. They have a lot more health, deal more damage, and can't be knocked down with the alternate melee swings. Rough. Add on the fact that regular zombies sometimes, randomly it felt like, charge in, closing the gap far quicker than you might have accounted for, potentially ruining your carefully made plans, like wanting to throw a Molotov at a group. And yeah, for such a slow-paced and simple game, there's a lot to think about during intense battles. Speaking of the Molotovs, you also get grenades, and let me tell ya, the way your character throws them is fucking ridiculous. You can plant the reticle in the middle of the action all you want, he will sidearm it, making it veer to the right and miss at best. Or, at worst, throw it into a wall, making it land by your feet. Incredible. Nice work, Jack. There was also a time where I threw a grenade, switched over to my bat, and it disappeared. No idea what happened there. While there are a couple more things to praise in Fiddler's Green, there's also a lot more to criticize, so let's keep going. I like having to explore and eke out supplies whenever possible, but the proximity for opening drawers and doors is way too generous. It should be pretty simple. Whatever you're pointing the camera at is what the game should think you'll want to interact with, but no, you'll time and time again open and close doors you weren't intending to, try to search one drawer and open two others, or try to grab the only item on screen, some vital ammunition, and the game thinks you want to keep checking the drawers right beside it for some reason. Oi, this is a small problem that gets multiplied by 1,000 since you'll be doing this all game. I used to think, how come not every desk or cabinet can be searched, huh? In my youth, and probably even as late as my 20s, but if this is the end result, opening dozens of empty filing cabinets one after the other, you know what, maybe I'm okay with only a handful of these assets being interactable. I never thought I'd be annoyed when walking into a locker room filled with lockers to sift through, but here we are. What a chore, sheesh. Now, as much as I enjoyed the finding of new weapons and the searching for supplies as it currently exists, I think some sort of progression for your offensive tools would have been nice. Please God, don't assault this game with skill trees or character level ups, but I was thinking how well a Bioshock weapon upgrade system would work here. Just a little something more to aid exploration in these mostly linear levels, finding some secrets off to the side. Instead, near the end especially, it was a boatload of Molotovs and ammo for guns I was already full on, and since you can't hold on to health pickups, you find first aid and, apply medical attention right then and there. Coming across caches of supplies at full capacity was a bit of a letdown. The vents in the parking garage level was particularly sad, since this felt like a secret area, and the only reward was a big heal, which was obviously worthless to me. The music that's in the game isn't bad, but it's always static. You'll hear the same track looping throughout the whole level. It gets a little tiring, but it could have been a lot worse if these weren't as good as they are, and I am being serious. These songs set the mood pretty well, I'd say. The cutscenes are laughable in more ways than one. I've already shown you how the game can't even load the whole thing in one go. It hitches at times, making you wonder if the game is gonna crash.
Explosions rocked the hospital.
It did crash, but not during a cutscene, so maybe I was worried for nothing. Even more than that, though, although the characters move their mouths as if they're talking with each other, we just get a voiceover from Jack the farmer about what's going on.
The doctor had come for supplies a few days ago.
Something about having the doctor character visibly speak, and then saying, "Now let's just have Jack tell you what he said," is really funny to me.
Safe, but now he couldn't get out. The doctor said that if I went to the basement, I could open the door by flicking an electrical switch down there.
Despite the visuals being obviously shitty by today's standards, and I mean, they weren't great by 2005 standards either, the part of the game where the building you were in was collapsing or on fire or what have you worked really well. I didn't think I was pressured for time or anything, given the lack of an on-screen timer, yet I was surprisingly anxious and jumpy. Each time a scripted explosion went off, it freaked me out a little. Sure, some of that has to do with the checkpoint system being punishing, along with the game being janky and unpredictable, but I was quite impressed with these moments all the same. I mean, they do tank the frame rate to hell and back, but that's kind of the standard of Fiddler's Green, so what are you gonna do? One of the environmental touches that caught me off guard were the body bags. They're not static, they can sometimes squirm around, as if the dead have come back to life. Can you imagine? In the movie theater, they're stacked high, as if used for cover, which is just haunting. Seeing a few of them wiggling around like, goddamn, hats off, Brainbox Games, this is good stuff. Speaking of surprising details, the toilets and vending machines deserve a mention too. I'm not here to analyze the toilets as much as Ali Meowie did for Heavy Rain. You should go watch this video, by the way, it's actually incredible. But for me, being able to flush a toilet in a game is my can you pet the dog, so Fiddler's Green jumped in the rankings thanks to this inclusion alone. You can also use the vending machines to pop out some soda cans, which doesn't do anything. I would have thought they'd act as healing, but no, I was being foolish. Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green, I love saying that full title, not a mouthful at all, takes itself far more seriously than that. Why did they allow you to do this then, you ask? Look at all this interactivity! Whee! I do find it funny that there are some nice details in the game, but the place where it would have been most appreciated, with the guns, isn't there. I know back in 2005, we didn't have the desire for realism as much as we do now, but it is a little silly to put 4 shells into a shotgun when you've only shot the thing 1 time, and the same goes for the starting rifle. Listen, it is what it is, but please stop pumping or cocking the gun. You already did that. On the topic of realism, while the vending machines, body bags, and toilets were fun touches, some parts of these environments make me think the team wasn't exactly striving for attention to detail. This stairwell, I mean, how is someone supposed to use this door? That's nothing. Take a look at this back alleyway. How did this car get here? Oh shit, I get it now. Dead Rising 3 was referencing Fiddler's Green. Dead Rising 3 based anyone?
Help! Please help!
Some of the glass breaking effects were pretty neat, but it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in the stability of your game when it has to stop everything it's doing to load in the effect. This also happened with some Molotov throws, evaporating any satisfaction you'd get from the kill. Surprisingly, the doors in Fiddler's Green were exceptional. It's a Dorkaxe thing at this point, I'm sorry, but ever since Dying Light, I've been paying attention to doors in video games, and yeah, this passes the bar. In most cases anyway. Sometimes the doors will close behind you and won't open, trapping you inside with the undead nightmares. What the fuck? Besides those though, yeah, Fiddler's Green is pretty good. The ones you can't interact with will say locked, the ones you can will say you can open it. Sure, this is fine. Closing doors has utility too, as it can sometimes save you from an ambush of zombies spawning in behind you. I decided to close this one in the parking garage, and lo and behold, a huge cluster of zombies were denied entry, and I was able to clear them out far easier. These types are the exception, but most of the doors can be broken and destroyed by zombies, as you saw earlier with the crawler, and the hitboxes on the half-ruined ones are legit. You can poke your shovel through the gap and hit the zombies no problem. They also can't cheat when they're in the situation. If they're behind the temporary wall, sure enough, their attacks don't hit you. My expectations were pretty low, sure, but hey, a win is a win. Zombies can also damage each other, so if you position yourself right, or just, walk into a perfect situation, you can let the aggressor do the dirty work for you. There's a couple of standout levels, mostly due to their objectives. The clearing out of the movie theater was fantastic, a contained location with a set number of enemies to find and take out. Same for the Fiddler's Green at the end. However, the obligatory turret section kind of sucked. It feels like, initially, you might be running and gunning, but no, the truck drives the length of 3 basketball courts, anything but the metric system, am I right? And then you're plopped down and immobile for the rest of the time with the turret. All of the combat is after you pull to a stop, funny enough. You have to prevent zombies from entering the city, and I got through it on the first try, but some weird bug happened, and even though none of the enemies made it through, and I didn't see any more out there, I couldn't continue. You're stuck in this turret until the game says you finished the job, but let me tell you, I sat here for a good 10 minutes with no zombie threats to be found, so I think the game is a big fat liar. It's times like these where granting the player a skip ahead button would be nice. After having to reset to the checkpoint, oh gosh, I failed like 3 times in a row. Whoever thought it was a good idea to put the dumpsters and debris in your line of sight is out of their mind. This doesn't make it harder in a fun way, it makes it far less clear if the recently legless zombies are still alive or not. That's nothing compared to the first escort mission, however. You meet Otis in the police station, he was behind bars, and you rescued him with the intent of taking his truck over to the movie theater. He has to get to his truck, so you go to the roof with a sniper rifle and protect him from the incoming zombies. Dear God, what a nightmare of a level. I actually ended up having a really good time with it though, since you have to be very efficient with your actions. I even had to plan and route out my movements step by step. Spawn in, kill the zombies upstairs first, then before fending off the Otis Munchers, park your butt in the stairwell, not the left side of the roof. Yeah, I thought I was being smart, getting a head start, since you will have to end up over there at some point, Under normal circumstances, this would be a perfectly valid strategy to undertake. It's just that Otis is dumb as rocks. He goes the wrong way for some reason, his programming practically encouraging players to think less of him, and because of that scripted blunder, you can't see him from this angle. Nope, gotta stay in the stairwell at the beginning. Woof. This is essentially the epitome of what people hate about these types of video game levels, what they point to specifically when painting the broad brush of escort missions are bad. Otis's AI is simply ludicrously terrible. He just fucking stands there, letting the zombies wail away on his face, shooting only every now and then, and naturally, he dies after only a handful of hits. At least he's consistent, I guess, right? After all, I fired round after round into his skull earlier in the jail cell, and he was cool with it. Dude just likes to hold his ground and tank all incoming danger, huh? Add on the finicky and imprecise sniper headshot problem, and the game tosses you a zombie spawn now and again, up on the roof? Good grief, I genuinely thought this level might have been it for me, where I had to admit defeat. Well, despite Seymour's directions, I got through it, thank fuck, on a go to the tempt. But guess what? There's another, real escort level later on, getting to the boats on the harbor. Since you can tag along with him, meaning you don't have to rely on the sniper the whole time, it actually isn't as bad, until of course you have to separate and lower a bridge crossing for him. I tried sniping up top for a little while, but wasn't confident enough in my aiming, so I charged back down and Otis ran away from me, since he was scripted to at that time, of course. And my shotgun can't kill the other zombie, she hits him once, and he's dead. Unbelievable. On the second attempt, I fucking bum rushed it immediately, sprinting and hopping to my beloved Otis. Count it, I'm tired boss, tag me out. After you find the working boat and do some other shenanigans, you both escape. Except, Otis isn't doing so hot. Yep, he's going to turn, and it's your job to put him down. In fact, if you wait a long enough time, he becomes a zombie in front of your eyes and starts attacking.
I don't want to be one of those creatures! Bandits!
After I reloaded the checkpoint, I decided to beat him very slowly with a metal pipe. Funny stuff. At least this is better than the time he got his ass eaten out, right? Barely?
What are you waiting for? Do it. Do it now.
Since this is a mid-2000s game, how could we not have a water level to round out the adventure? Seriously, I cannot believe this janky, barely holding it together zombie game put swimming sections in. Wild, absolutely wild. The final level, after you cleared out the streets of the City of the Living and the penthouse of Fiddler's Green, there's one more battle. And boy, this one was tough. I already used most of my ammo, and there's basically none here on the patio, so it required a lot of running around and tossing Molotovs, but I managed to frickin' do it. I beat Land of the Dead Road to Fiddler's Green on the Xbox. Despite the game's many issues, you gotta give it credit. It came out at a time where zombie games weren't the norm at all. House of the Dead and Resident Evil, and that's basically it. There's so much wrong with Fiddler's Green, but there is a framework of a good game here. I don't think it is a good game, but it is one that, if you can get past the plethora of problems, is kind of fun. Or maybe I'm just getting sucked into a zombie whirlpool, my thoughts taken over by the undead virus, forcing me to like obviously shitty games simply due to the fact that they have zombies in them. What have I become? Thanks for watching, folks. I know, this is the game you were all expecting, right? When I said last week I'd be doing a zombie game that's been asked about for years? No? Well, fucking hell, mate, be more specific. Thanks to my patrons over at patreon.com, who give me money to bludgeon Otis's face with a lead pipe. If you'd like early access to videos, you can head over to Patreon, or you can sign up to become a member on YouTube. I post the unlisted video links on the community page for members only, see? The EDF video was up for like 2 weeks. Otherwise, you could join my Patreon for free and get access to my monthly updates, where I usually talk about all the games I played that month. Fun stuff. Alright, see you next week. More zombies, more dying, more dead, More nation, more light, more Fred.